thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. That's right. It's Friday, July 12th, and today is National French Fry Day. It's also Eat Your Jello Day. Very, very interesting. National Paper Bag Day. And shout out to the round paper bag out there, because without that, a lot of people would be getting convicted for different things just being in turkey bags, probably. It's also National Pecan Pie Day. National Different Colored Eyes Day. And, you're right, it is National Simplicity Day. What do you think about that, Mathieu St. Germain? The simple things in life. You're on mute.
Sorry, I love it. I was muted.
Yes, you're on mute. All right.
Love simple things.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. We're waiting on Rico. Am I correct on that? We're waiting on Rico, Adam?
Go Lamitte.
All right. Dr. T, you up? You ready? You're on mute too, Dr. T.
I'm here.
All right, yeah. On? Amazing. All right, we're going to kick it off with you then, Dr. T. Are you ready?
Oh, wow. Okay, hold on a second. Yeah.
I mean, you have a hot story, so you know what I'm saying? I feel like the people want to know what's happening with this.
It got you excited, huh?
Yeah, super excited. That's right. The man with all the prescriptions for all the things to keep you excited. That's right, it's Dr. Gene Talleyrand. He is the founder of the CESC and the founder of Pecan, where not only can you get your cannabis recommendations, but apparently you can get some scripts for some other things that will bring up your spirits. That's right, it is none other than Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thank you, Jason. And no, just medical cannabis consultation.
Just
anyway,
medical.
Happy Friday, everyone. My story today comes from Marijuana Moment. Cannabis use linked to better and more frequent sex, study finds, but dosage is critical, by Ben Adlin. A new scientific review of academic research on cannabis and human sexuality concludes that while the relationship between cannabis and sex is a complicated one, use of cannabis is generally associated with more frequent sexual activity, as well as increased sexual desire and enjoyment. The article published this week in the Journal of Psychopharmacology also suggests that lower doses of cannabis may actually be best suited for sexual satisfaction, while higher doses could in fact lead to decreases in desire and performance, and it suggests that effects may differ based on a person's gender. The report suggests that cannabis has the potential to enhance sexual pleasure, reduce inhibitions, alleviate anxiety and shame, and promote intimacy with sexual partners, wrote the 5-author research team from the Gonda Multidisciplinary Brain Research Center at Bar Ilan University in Israel. Furthermore, it has been associated with increased pleasure during masturbation and enhanced sexual experiences during sexual encounters. These observations indicate that cannabis may have notable effects on sexual experiences. The 9-page literature review says that while sex is a complex dynamic influenced by various physical and emotional factors, cannabis affects individuals in an integrative manner, impacting both physical and emotional aspects, which can potentially influence sexual experiences. Women typically see more beneficial effects from cannabis use, the paper says, though less research has been done looking into women experiences. Suggests that cannabis can relieve painful intercourse, authors wrote. Moreover, low doses of cannabinoids, including THC and THCV, could potentially alleviate anxiety associated with sexual activities or interpersonal interactions, consequently disinhibiting sexual desire and promoting arousal, particularly in certain women. As for men, the new psychopharmacology article notes that findings are conflicting. Some suggest that cannabis causes erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, and postponed ejaculation, while others claim the opposite. Dosage appears key. Throughout our study, we found a dosage and frequency of cannabis use to be modulating factors in the effect of cannabis on sexual experiences, the report says. More regular cannabis use sexual function, at least in general. A survey of female customers at a cannabis dispensary found that compared to low-frequency users, women who use cannabis more often scored higher on measures of female sexual function. Another study found that women who use cannabis frequently had twice the odds of reporting satisfactory orgasms compared to those with infrequent use. Among men, the results are conflicting again. Some research suggests a correlation between daily cannabis use and difficulty in achieving orgasms, including both delayed and premature ejaculation. Another study found that men who use cannabis regularly scored higher on measures of erectile function. They higher 5 of functional domains of the International Index of Erectile Function, namely erectile, orgasm, intercourse satisfaction, and overall satisfaction. So this review article is reporting the obvious to most cannabis users. Although I find some of the conclusions interesting, particularly I'm intrigued with the notion that dosage matters. Most users report feeling happy and relaxed after using cannabis. That alone would improve sexual experiences. An earlier study published in 2019 found that lower amounts of THC correlated with the highest level of arousal and satisfaction, and that too much THC could actually backfire. Dr. Ethan Russo's study, The Nose Knows, describes that better subjective pleasurable experience correlates better with aroma than THC content. At the CESC, our studies find that certain terpene types of cannabis seem to be more arousing than others. So how is your sexual experience using cannabis? Does dosage matter? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
I see, Dr. T, you picked a very, very appropriate setting for this story today, Dr. T.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that Valentine's?
Well, I mean, is that a bed with linens in your backdrop?
Research.
Very, very. I love it. I'm all about the research. All about the research. This is a fun story to research, so to say. I mean, I used to have this 90-year-old doctor. I don't know if you remember this Dr. T, but Dr. Greenfield. He was like an 80, 90-year-old, little skinny, very frail doctor, and he wrote a lot of cannabis recommendations. Yeah, and he used to tell me that he smoked cannabis for his libido.
Well, we've got the research now.
And now we have research. This 30 years later, we got some research on this. When we've known anecdotally, yeah. Man, this is good news for people right here. This is fantastic. Especially, this is great news for all the women out there.
But I thought it was most interesting that dosage matters, meaning if you're just knocking it back, maybe it doesn't help.
I did find that interesting too, but I wonder too that if for some people, because you know what they say, Dr. T, different strokes for different folks, if some people need a higher allotment to hit that peak as well. It could go both ways with this, right?
I have a question. Did the study note the delivery methods? So are we talking about smoking cannabis? Are we talking about using a cannabis topical on your sexual organs? Are we talking about taking
I see what you did there.
Or a drink here?
I see what you did there, Elise. That's right. Elise is wondering if you rub it in, if it makes it better.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how specific.
I'm not wondering. I know.
I tried that. I just got all scratched up.
Well, actually, no. There is a fact because it notes that women experience more benefits, right? And that's because so we actually have receptors in our vagina, if you will, or in the labia, or I think around the clitoris, so that if you use a topical down there, like a THC or CBD infused topical, ideally a hybrid of both, it is going to, increase blood flow, moisture, enhance, the experience. Whereas men, you just don't have that. You don't have the receptors down there that we have. So it's not going to harm your experience at all, perhaps using a air quotes weed lube or cannabis infused coconut oil, but it will greatly enhance the women's pleasure. I'm not lying, like 10x. Highly recommend, ladies.
10x?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not traveling around without my love balm. Shout out to Maya at home. Yeah, for reals.
Fascinating, Elise.
And and then if you have issues, it can be very helpful as well. And then not to mention a pain or anything like that. But so,
what type of issues, Elise?
Well, some women experience issues, perhaps getting into the pleasure zone or perhaps reaching orgasm. So. All those same kind of dysfunctions that one might have in the sexual arena.
Interesting. Any other thoughts on this, Mathieu St. Germain?
I think cannabis and psychedelics used with yoga and breathing techniques and Kegel muscles really enhance the knowledge of one's own nervous system and the control of one's autonomic nervous system. And I could go into details, but it would get pretty gross and involve me naked. So,
shout out to all those Kegel muscles, right, Mathieu?
So I will dive into that. Kegel muscles are really important for being más fuerte, as well as it's prostate massage and health of the prostate. And the easiest place I find to do this is driving, right? Because you're nearly always driving, or you can also do this sitting at your desk. You just basically activate that muscle like you're stopping yourself from your pee stream without using your hands. And what I'll do is I'll do pulses. I'll do 100 pulses. I'll do 100. Then I'll do and where I'll hold for a count of 1,010 for 10 seconds. Then I'll just do it where I hold it for a count of 100 seconds, and then I'll do pulses, and I'll just run that through.
Run it through
right now.
I actually was, Elise.
he's running it through.
How could you tell?
Man. Is that woman intuition, right, Elise?
Exactly.
Fair enough. Apparently, Mathieu St. Germain likes to, you know what I'm saying? Does that help with road rage, Mathieu St. Germain, when you do that?
Smoking weed helps with road rage, although it's illegal, so don't do it, and I never do.
Got it. Fair enough.
The other thing is just leave early and know there's going to be traffic. Like, I'm always amazed when people are tripping and trying to leave on time to get there. Like when the MAP program says, just leave a half an hour early. If you get there early, then you have time to look at a tree, kick it, do some breathing exercises, regulate yourself, smoke a little weed if you want to. And if something happens and you're not late, you're on time still.
Yeah.
Life advice from St. Germain.
Fair enough.
Wellness focus this morning.
I love it. I love this wellness focus right here, you guys. This is a great way to start off your Friday. You know what I mean? Roll right into the weekend. You know what I mean? Well, on that, we're going to roll right on into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
All right, and we're back, and we do want to thank the C Word for a big old super chat who says, thanks, Hashanista, for your support of SF Hash Week.
Thank you.
Yes,
Love
right.
Hash.
Shout out to the C Word, man. Much appreciated for that big old super chat. We definitely appreciate that. All right. Seeing as how Rico is still not in the building yet, I'm gonna roll into my first story, you guys. And here's the deal. Why haven't Ohio adult use marijuana sales started yet, you guys? And I'm going to blame it all on Nick Lachey. Because over 100 Ohio medical cannabis dispensaries are on their way to selling adult use marijuana, but they still have a few boxes to check before the sales can begin. The Division of Cannabis Control began accepting applications last month from medical marijuana businesses that want to participate in the adult use market. And Ohioans voted last year to legalize adult use marijuana for adults 21 and older, but the licensing process for operators couldn't begin until the division finalized those rules. As of Thursday, the state had issued 112 provisional dual-use licenses to dispensaries and 78 to other cultivators, processors, and testing labs. Businesses with a provisional license must do the following before regulators grant final approval. 1. Notify local officials and law enforcement. 2. Train employees. And 3. Ensure security equipment is up to date and meets the state standards. That doesn't sound like that's too difficult to do, just to say. But nonetheless, they say dispensaries must also pass a test to show they can properly distinguish and sell medical and adult use products. I wonder what's in that test, if it's multiple choice or whatnot. But it's unclear how long the process could take, and some industry officials initially predicted a June or early July launch, but that timeline already passed. Division of Cannabis Control spokesman Jamie Crawford said the turnaround depends on how quickly applicants can meet the various requirements. Business owners still expect adult use sales at existing dispensaries to begin sometime this summer, and the state is required by law to approve dual-use licenses for medical cannabis operators by September. Dispensaries will likely be busy in the weeks after they launch adult use sales, but many have increased staffing to meet the demand, Cresco Labs spokesperson Jason Erkey said. In a quote, he says, "The state has been running this at lightning fast speed compared to other launches. Provisional licenses a week after applications were submitted is unheard of," Erk said. He also says, "This is a big effort with a lot of compliance and regulatory requirements, and while it might seem like hurry up and wait, I know the Commerce Department wants to make sure it's done right instead of done quickly." Sounds like they're referencing your last story there, Dr. T. But nonetheless, separately, the Division of Cannabis Control has received nearly 200 applications from brand new dispensaries known as 10B licenses. Under the law passed last year, large cultivators can apply for 3 dispensary licenses at new locations, while smaller growers get 1. And medical dispensaries that aren't affiliated with a cultivar or processor are eligible for another dispensary license. Those stores will take more time to get off the ground, potentially not opening until sometime next year. Well, Ohio, they are slow rolling this adult use measure, but they're saying that they're not slow rolling it, and they're doing it with caution and care. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Yeah.
Sounds like they're getting it all set up for the big and the powerful to get in place, and then they'll let the hesitant.
That right? That's what it sounds like to me too. I'm with you. Yeah, they're just like, hey, all you big MSOs that got real money, let's come on in here. Let's get it going. And then everyone that applied
you
for a
guys.
license. What's that?
Hey, Jay, did you hear about the new Star Wars movie?
What's that? I've heard it's
So
terrible.
it's a prequel. It's a prequel, and they show how the idea for the Death Star was actually brought up at Darth Vader's kitchen table. Yeah, so they designed it around the kitchen table because they really care about satellite design. Yeah, so
that
it was thought up around the kitchen table. It's all good.
That is fascinating, Mathieu St. Germain.
I know what you did there.
I'm letting that one go.
Exactly. No, don't let it go. It's endless content, Mathieu St. Germain. That's for sure.
It's great that the people of Ohio are going to get safe access.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like it's a matter of weeks as opposed to months from how this article is sounding. At least for some stores, it sounds like other stores aren't going to be until next year, though.
And coming from the perspective of California, where when we got adult use, the quality of the cannabis went down. The price also went down, but the quality went down.
Yep.
And I don't know any. And for medical patients, that's a problem because they really do rely on it on a daily basis.
You know, the good news about when you buy not good product from MSOs, Dr. T, is like your threshold of expectation is already so low that it doesn't really matter.
I was going to say, like, how good can the weed be in Ohio right now?
Exactly.
Even?
Well, I mean, the California weed is good that's in Ohio, or at least somewhat.
Yeah,
good.
exactly. I was going to say, depends on who you know.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
But the products in the stores are not great.
No, exactly.
California.
That you're right, Dr.
In
T.
California, it's horrible. We're just we're in a tsunami of mids, and one of the biggest problems is crop steering. Crop steering was something that was designed to get highest yields per input for certain food crops and ornamentals. What people who are exercising crop steering on the California market don't seem to understand is putting your plants up with salt makes them unsmokable. So what we're doing with what you do with crop steering is just these things salt all day long, and you're trying to maintain them being full without really any runoff. So you're making salt bombs. I think that's a huge reason why there's so many things, like when we were testing for the cup this year, look amazing, smell amazing, structure's great, color's great, trichomes everywhere. Smoke it, and you dry hit it, it tastes great. You smoke it, it tastes good on the front of your tongue, and by the back of your palate and in your throat, it just starts burning a hole right through your throat, and you realize you can't smoke the joint. And it's literally just that salt and nutrient metal overdose. Like phosphorus and magnesium are two of the main nutrients in cannabis, and they're both they both burn at like thousands of degrees once ignited.
Which is why if those are translated into the hash, it also makes the hash unsmokable. It just burns. It can look good.
It makes hash burn too.
Yeah, of course, because
So
great flower.
You guys are all judges at the Emerald Cup. Did you notice that the quality went down this year compared to last year?
I'll let Matthew
indoor
take
entries,
that one.
so there were more quality entries, but on a per capita basis, like on a percentage basis, it was a lot of just disappointment. And I've offered, and for the entire judge team, there should be some sort of contact card in people's samples, and when it's not good, they should allow some sort of contact of like, hey, thank you for entering. We want to help you to make this where you have a chance to actually win with your entry, get in the top 20, and why don't you reach out to this number and we can help you figure out what's going on.
They don't
They've
care
never been
that
taken
much.
up on that offer. I guess they don't want to offend anybody. For me, it's not like, hey, your weed's dog shit. It's just like, dude, you just spent $1,000 or whatever to enter. Like, let's help you so you can have a chance of winning and you're not just burning money.
I think the most concerning factor is that, I've been judging competitions for over 10 years, and it's always a mix of really, crap and then great stuff. And honestly, there was a while where it got better and better, but then, kind of peaked, plateaued, and went down. And the saddest thing now, and I've judged 3 categories for the Emerald Cup, and, in judging solventless concentrates, at least we have a personal use category, and that's always everyone's favorite because the personal use is usually some of the best representation of craft. This year I judged pre-rolls. the saddest thing is that these are all licensed products for sale to consumers from dispensaries. And I can't tell you how offensively bad some of these pre-rolls were, where like I didn't even want to smoke it, but I had to take one hit for the competition. And there is some absolute garbage, I dare say dangerous products in market being marketed as, you know, like strawberry flavored or, you know, I mean, because we had to judge solvent infused. That was the toughest category. I'll say no more, but I can say the other thing related to this is this still happens to me all the time. If I meet someone new and they learn I'm in cannabis, the first question I'm often asked is, oh my God, I used to get this product as a medicine. I can't find it anymore. Do you know anything like this? And it's really common with actual medical patients who use, you know, kind of CBD THC ratio capsules or tinctures or higher dose, again, medicinal products. They can't find them anymore. And it's really sad. And often I'm kind of sending them to someone in the traditional market or someone with a craft business. So it is true that patients are forgotten when recreational happens, and I wish more states did better with that. And we obviously in California didn't do a great job.
You're right. They go back to where they originally got it. They're going back to their neighbor. They're going, you know, to the traditional market because they can't find it at the store. They can't afford it at the store either.
Well, I mean, isn't it also interesting to see all of these stores who made so much lip service to their patients and medical need totally forget their patients and medical need the moment recreational came legal, and we saw the straight grab for the money? Mm-hmm. I think we all could sit and name 1 million stores and 1 million people that we saw talking about that medical need. And where's that medical need now? You have to go to get a usable amount of RSO that's not $700 a day. You have to go actually outside the permitted legal market because of the taxes and the need to structure the dosage size according to the rules with these small dosages. You can get a dose medical grade RSO again for under hundreds and hundreds of dollars because you have to buy all these small, highly priced packages.
Yeah.
Well, do you think this is going to happen in Ohio? It seems like they're going to head straight there.
I think we're in a 10-year arc of bullshit in the weed industry. I think by about 2035, we're going to have a refined market. We're going to have the McDonald's lane that's always going to exist. People who don't care about what they put into their bodies or do to the earth will be buying, you know, whatever the cheapest, highest potency thing is. And there will be a very small lane delineated for people who actually care about organics, care about the earth, care about what they put into their body, and want to have a connoisseur experience.
Well, don't you think
have to wait, unfortunately, or
the money?
Yes, sir. As well. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. T, don't you think since legalization too that the patients have forgot a lot about the medical side of cannabis too, because a lot of them don't renew their notes anymore because they're all over 21, so they can just walk in and buy weed, and that's a lot of the reasons they were getting a doctor's note in the first place is so they had the ability of the convenience to be able to go into a store and buy weed.
Well, I think they're still there just because they don't go get their doctor's card. I mean, they're still sick. I still see people who...
All use is medical use, though, right? So even if they're not sick, they're still, you know what I mean? And that's the majority of the consumer base, even under medical.
I mean, do you want? Are you talking? You want somebody with a diagnosis? You know, because that's easy to find. They're all over the place.
No, I understand that.
Are you saying that somebody's using it for health and well-being? Because, you know, a healthy person can use it to prevent illness. I was just talking to Dr. Courtney, and he was all about eating raw cannabis, right?
Yeah, no, I truly believe that that it's better using it consistently as a preventative, more like a vitamin kind of thing. You know what I mean, to fight to ward these types of things off before they develop or start.
Right, but if you want to go and pick cannabis microgreens to put in your salad, you're not finding that at the dispensary. Yeah, or if you want an RSO, it's very hard to find out at a dispensary. If you need an RSO, so you got to go to your neighbor.
Shout out to Anna Lewis in the chat who says life is a diagnosis. What do you think about that, Doctor?
You can go to Beard Bros Media, Beard Bros Farms. They do have an RSO product in some states.
Yeah, their products are available over at Catalyst locations throughout California. And I guess we're going to end on medical weed for the people on this. Question for you guys. Rico is not here yet, and I haven't heard from him. I'm not sure if he's going to make it in today. Do you guys want me to read his story now, or do you want me to roll in to Elise? You guys check.
Yes, but you have to wear a hat.
You want me to? I don't. Oh, you want me to wear a hat? Oh man.
I'd like you to wear a nice baseball cap.
Okay.
Why don't Elise and Matthew go first, just in case he shows up late?
I'm fine with that too. I'm fine with that. All right. We're gonna roll right into the Hashanista herself, Miss Elise McRoberts. She is a Emerald Cup judge. She's constantly showing women how to be bigger and better than themselves. And that's right, she's also a pre-roll judge and a Buddhist or Buddhist, however you say that correctly, for the California State Fair. You're not a Buddhist?
Not a Buddhist?
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
I am not a Buddhist.
I'm sorry. I thought you were. I apologize.
But you are a Buddhist.
My bad. She is.
I am not.
Yeah, she does. She is a consumer of the Buddha. That's right. It is none other than the Hashanista herself, Miss Elise McRoberts.
Oh, always a lovely intro. Thank you, Jason. Good morning, everyone. We're barely halfway through SF Hash Week here. Super fun times and events all over the city. But yet I have another story today from just a couple, not even 2 hours away from here, the California State Fair, which is a lot of coverage. I know, Mathieu St. Germain. Was that an actual vocal sigh I heard there?
Oh, sorry.
They're getting so much coverage. I know. Can somebody let the press know that we also have this big event known as the first official SF Hash Week happening at the birthplace of actual medical cannabis around San Francisco with a bunch of events. Anywho, I digress. Let's hear it for today's story, which is, in case you guys didn't know, California State Fair rolls out on-site sales consumption of cannabis. All right, and this is, once again, cannabis history is happening at the California State Fair, and if you don't know it's there, you just might miss it. Have we missed it, guys? Behind a monolithic building past museum-like exhibits that wind the attendee down a timeline of the marijuana plant sits the first area for on-site sales and consumption of cannabis at a state fair. Not just the California State Fair organizers said, any state fair. "We are making history," said Dustin Moore, co-founder of Embark. "This has never happened." Embark has partnered with Fair Play Ventures to create the newest version of the fair's cannabis exhibit, a cannabis competition that has taken place at the fair since 2022. This year, after having a chance to speak with growers and vendors, attendees can purchase cannabis products and use them in a consumption area. Part of that area is already prepared. An area for vendors was ready Wednesday in anticipation of opening day Friday. Couches sat protected under a covering, which provided some respite from the blistering California sun. It is hot as hell out there in Sacramento, no joke. No smoking is allowed in that area. Wow, interesting. The larger consumption site where smoking is allowed, remained under construction midweek. Attendees will walk a preordained path to that spot, about 20,000 square feet, where more tables and chairs, along with panelists and music, will greet them. Both sites, Moore said, are shielded from regular fair growers. People can visit the fair and never know there's cannabis present. Moore conceded that this is, that's the regulation. Moore conceded that this is somewhat contradictory to one of the exhibit's purposes, removing the stigma of cannabis and normalizing it. But much like the legalization of cannabis in California, it's all about small steps. James Letts with Fair Play Ventures, an executive producer of the cannabis competition and exhibit, easily remembers the state of cannabis in California before 2016, when Prop 64, the voter initiative that legalized marijuana in the Golden State, passed. 10 years ago, Letts wouldn't have believed sales and consumption at the state fair were possible. "It is huge," he said. "It is the first in the country. It is unbelievable that cannabis is legal." A visitor to the cannabis exhibit can see how people's attitudes toward cannabis have changed over time. The exhibit is in a large building a short walk from the main entrance. Stepping inside, one of the first things a visitor will see are what appear to be cannabis plants. Moore assured people they aren't. Instead, they're hemp. Hemp plants, not cannabis, due to regulations, he said. Regulations play a large role in cannabis history as well as the present day. A timeline of cannabis through the decades is on the walls. Attendees will see a poster for Reefer Madness, an anti-marijuana movie from the 30s, now seen by many as a cult classic. Cannabis was used to impugn immigrants and again, jazz culture. The war on drugs wasn't far behind. It's all about education, Light said. It started with education. The story keeps evolving through the years. Okay, it looks like this just walks you through the whole experience. So I'm going to, let you know that you can read this article on High at Night News if you want to get a full preview of it. But let's get to the numbers, or here's some other little fun points. Nearby, there's a stand where people can buy terpene-infused slushies, a play off the popular wine slushies found at the fair. I have heard those, or had these exact slushies before. They're pretty lit. Shout out to those guys. Cannabis has experienced its troubles since becoming legal on January 1st, 2018. Sales in 2021 were $5.35 billion. That was followed by $4.9 billion in 2022 and $4.89 billion in 2023. The state legislative analyst's office estimated in May that the state would gain $649 million in tax revenue for the fiscal year of 23 to 24. While that's $16 million under a May forecast by Newsom, the analyst's office predicts $727 million in tax revenue in the fiscal year of 2024-25. Everybody expected cannabis to be this windfall, said David Hafner, media relations with the state Department of Cannabis Control. While cannabis does draw in a lot of money for the state, Hafner noted only 40% of California has licensed cannabis retailers. That leaves significant portions of the state in cannabis, or in a cannabis desert. The cannabis exhibit plays a role in the socialization and normalization of cannabis. Having it at the fair is the next step of that, he added. Hafner's office will have a compliance team on site during the fair to ensure regulations are obeyed, and there are plenty. The exhibition hall is for those 21 and older. There is no consumption on site for smoking Friday and Saturday. However, smoking is allowed on all other days except July 19th, when a beer fest is set for the fair. Wow. The California State Fair at Cal Expo, 1600 Exposition Boulevard in Sacramento runs from July 12th through July 28th. Organizers remain cautiously optimistic about weather during the fair. The Sacramento region has experienced a heat wave over the past several days with mercury topping 100. Exhibitors hope that temperatures don't get too high. Well, we had to end on a good pun there, now didn't we? Wow. Okay, so that was a lot. I'm going to let my panelists chime in, but I do have a few comments as I've been to the state fair before for the cannabis exhibit. I think the first year they did it when I was still working with My High, I was there representing a brand and, of course, pre-consumption. And so it was just education and panels. It is beautiful, it's small, but it's nice that they, give us a little area. This seems like improvements from that. I'm very excited. I know Richmond State will have an area. That sounds like there's some awards happening too. We almost were actually doing the payments for them. So shout out to both Dustin and James, who I did communicate a lot with about this. It's, the awards are interesting because this is the first time they have judges. So that's cool. It used to just be based on test results, but what do we think about this? Obviously, the regulations and having to be completely covered and no viewpoint of it. That's not specific to the fair. I was just at Pride where they had the first official cannabis sales, and it was the same thing. It was completely blacked out and hidden, and it's such a bummer because it really does. It's great to have it there, but the whole, keeping it so separate and hidden and out of view really does, make it out of view. And also, we had to do work to make sure people knew that this area existed and that they could both buy and consume cannabis. And so putting it behind these black fences doesn't really help normalization. But I guess like the article says, baby steps. And I know a lot of brands and people in the business and industry and community are psyched to go out there for a day. I may or may not make it down there. Like I said, it's really hot, or over there, I should say. But shout out to everyone who's doing the hard work to make it happen. I think it's great. What do you guys think?
I mean, this does sound like a fun event overall, just to experience. I mean, it is the California State Fair, so it has a super nostalgic type of feel to it. If I was up north, I would probably go just to witness it, see what's up and whatnot. But I would bring my own weed. I probably wouldn't buy anything that was there.
That's right. I hope the vendors brought are not bringing what they're putting in the stores. Maybe they brought the quality stuff to the fair.
No, they didn't. They didn't. It had to pass testing, Dr. T. So you already know it's the same stuff they're selling in the stores.
Maybe it's fresher. I don't know.
Maybe it's fresher. I mean,
doing sales at an event like that is so many hoops to jump through with all the regs and the distros and having what you can have on site versus what you can't.
And it being so hot does create a whole nother fiasco for these retailers and brands to have to deal with making sure that their product is kept cool, because cannabis does not like the heat.
It's been in the high hundreds in Sacramento for a week at least.
Exactly.
I actually just saw one of the Beard Bros on 710, and he was saying how they had to get out, or they were happy to get out of SAC and come to SF, where it's a little cooler.
Interesting.
Shout out, Jeff.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I would. Dr. T, are you going to go to it? You're up there. Are you going to go to the state fair and you're going to go and ask every booth if they have full spectrum oil?
I won't. If I did, I would look for the health and wellness section. I didn't hear that there was one as Elise was reading that. So
you might be just walking around looking throughout the whole fair looking for that, Dr. T.
There's no health and wellness in the whole fair.
No, I'm just saying, yeah. Because I don't think there is one.
Well, it looks like it'll be hard to find the cannabis section, first of all, and then I don't know.
Go to the back.
Mm-hmm. Go to the back.
Right?
This reminds me of civil rights days, huh?
Yeah, I wish you. I mean,
cannabis needs its civil rights.
Yeah. I mean, in order to find this, I'm sure at the fair you have to basically be a toucan and just follow your nose.
The nose knows.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, on that, we're going to roll into a commercial and we're going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure that you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already, and all of the articles that we cover on today's show you can read directly on our website at www.highatnightnews.com. Also, too, make sure, if you haven't yet, make sure that you check out our 710 video. I get on a call with Task Rock, one of the creators of the 710 holiday, and the 710 holiday has been renamed to Hash Dependence Day, so you can see and learn all about that in that video right there. If you want to know how 710 was started, where the first one was, and all kinds of other fun stuff, as well as I go and ask customers outside of Catalyst in downtown Long Beach if they know about 710 and how it was created. And you'll love some of the answers. I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla. Yes, and we are back. Oh man, look at that! Look at that! Coming up next,
Matthew, you want to go next, or you want me to roll into
Let's
this next?
go.
You ready? All right,
Let's
coming
go.
up next, it is the Count himself, the immortal one. That is a fractalized component of what the universe used to be. That's right, it is none other than the Count himself, Mr. Mathieu St. Germain.
Thanks, Jason.
There we go.
Thanks, all. Happy Friday.
Go.
We've got a real promising story. Massachusetts voters are going to decide on a psychedelic legislation initiative on this November ballot. Massachusetts voters will have a chance to decide on a measure to legalize psychedelics on the November ballot, state officials. Last week, the campaign behind the initiative turned in a final batch of signatures to qualify the proposal after lawmakers declined to enact the reform legislatively. On Wednesday, Secretary of the Commonwealth, William F. Galvin, certified that activists collected more than enough valid petitions for the proposal to go before voters. Support from Massachusetts residents has been overwhelming. We are thrilled to be on the ballot this year, Emily Onashuk, a veteran and grassroots outreach director for MMHO, said in a press release last week. Veterans have been advocating for this type of care for years. It's time to make it accessible and affordable for them and other struggling Massachusetts residents. This comes about a month after the legislature's Special Joint Committee on Ballot Initiatives issued a majority report that formally recommended against passing the measure as drafted. The report acknowledged that a growing body of scientific literature shows psychedelics such as psilocybin may be highly effective addressing a variety of adverse mental health conditions when administered in a controlled environment or the woods. It said these promising findings, however, have not provided evidence that the wide-scale recreational legalization of these substances would be beneficial, let alone safe, to the ruling capitalist oligarchy. The committee also said it believes the measure's primary goals of licensing psychedelic service centers while broadly decriminalizing the substance for adults likely undercut each other by creating two separate systems for the use of psychedelic substances. It would be a shame if people use these not just to get well, but to have fun. Here are the key details of the Natural Psychedelic Substances Act. Adults 21 and older could legally possess, grow, and share certain amounts of psychedelics. Covered psychedelics would be DMT, non-peyote mescaline, ibogaine, psilocybin, psilocin. Penalty for possession of amounts up to double the limit would be a $100 civil fine, with amounts above that remaining criminalized. So if you were growing it, you'd have to be quite, careful. Natural Psychedelic Substances Commission would be created to oversee the implementation of the law and licensing of service centers and facilitators. Body, which is modeled on the state's existing Cannabis Control Commission, will be required to enact rules for regulated access of at least one psychedelic by April Fool's Day 2026. Regulations for the rest of the substances would need to be created by April 1st, 2028. Would also need to start accepting applications by September 30th, 2026. Local governments could enact regulations on the time, location, and manner of services centers, but they could not outright ban them from operating in their area. That's a good detail. Adults could propagate psychedelics in a maximum 12 by 12-foot space, which is probably enough space to brew up at least 1 million hits of LSD. Get yourself on the permanent retirement plan. There would be civil legal protections related to professional licensure, custody, and public benefits for people who participate in a legalized psychedelic activity. That's awesome. Effective date of the law would be December 15th, 2024. This is Mathieu St. Germain for the High at 9 News. Looking forward to what Jason and my fellow correspondents have to say about this. Let's go.
Yes.
This is good news. This is good news.
I agree, and I really like the stipulations of protection of licensure, protection of child custody, and aiming at some more, just protections and normalization of people who are using these substances to not automatically stigmatize and criminalize them. Mm-hmm. Also, I forgot to mention when I was reading, but there was a separate story. Washington voters, the state of Washington, are also going to be voting for some sort of legalization measure in November as well.
Say that again.
State of Washington is also going to have a vote on a legalization item on the ballot. I don't know the complete details. I do know that it's towards legalization. I think it is also nature. Also, if anybody wants to get involved with this type of thing, there's a public policy project called Decriminalize Nature, decriminalizenature.org, and they are leading volunteer teams and interact with city councils, boards of supervisors, and members of government, state, local, and not really national yet, but eventually, to criminalize entheogenic substances, psychedelic substances that are nature-based, so that people can use these. They call it a grow, gift, and share model. It's really amazing.
Matthew, did they say what this ballot initiative was going to be called on the ballot, and this is going to be on this November's ballot?
Did not say what it was going to be called, but this was in Massachusetts.
Oh, in Massachusetts. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
So Massachusetts and Washington.
Massachusetts.
California, we're still in a limbo after Newsom vetoed our psychedelic bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
thanks, Captain Hairdo.
It'll be very interesting to see what Massachusetts does with this, especially because they have so many of these elitist schools out there in their state.
Well, the crazy thing to me, dude, is like how so much of freak culture and psychedelic culture was headquartered in primarily the Bay Area and the North Bay, and yet how California seems to be lagging behind on cannabis and the psychedelic statutes when we have more therapists that have been using them underground here, basically created the culture. The majority of them were grown or brewed here.
What do you think about this, Dr. T, being a physician? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, there is a connection between the Bay Area and Massachusetts. I mean, weren't a lot of the original professionals that experimented with LSD, Harvard
That's right.
People. So I think that's an interesting. I think they are. Massachusetts always really has done it well. I really love the fact that they're doing a center where people can, number one, socialize, but also where you can have sort of safeguards there. If someone's having a bad trip or, dehydrated or what have you, that there's someone there to sort of be a safety net for that. What a great idea in terms of it. And also it brings together the idea of that be health and wellness doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be a needle in your arm. It could be a fun interaction that can keep you healthy and prevent illness. So I think that's a broad perspective there.
Well, they say just being
here.
They say, Dr. T, that just being happy and healthy and good spirits is one of the best things for your body overall in just fighting off things that could be predatory to sickness, correct?
That's correct, and maybe pharma doesn't like that because they can't sell pills that way.
They don't like that. I believe you on that. Unless
it's a happy pill.
They haven't made MDMA as far as a pill like that yet. I mean, the streets have, but not.
They have
the pharmaceutical
SSRIs.
Space. SSRIs? That's what we should be getting doctor's notes for?
Prozac.
No, stay away from those.
Oh, gotcha.
Like Prozac and serotonin reuptake inhibitors. It's very different, yes.
Yes, I was going to say, once they make a Molly pill, then, I mean, people are going to be having a great time in the streets.
Well, think about it.
They
MDMA.
rejected it when it was first created. It was created for a pharmaceutical company, and they said, no, we don't want this drug. It has no use to us. And then it was released onto the streets and became a party. And once it was known as a party drug, that's why they banned it.
Yeah,
but
go ahead, Dr. T.
MDMA is serotonergic, meaning it's has affinity for the serotonin receptors, and that's what SSRIs do too. So there's a similar molecular mechanism of action there. Why one is preferred over the other is an interesting question.
I'll tell you guys what, I got a stock tip for you guys. If they made a pill for MDMA that was prescribed in pharmaceutical and whatnot, everyone should go out and buy stock in glow stick companies. That would be the move right there. But on that, we're going to keep this train rolling. I have two final stories for you guys. I'm going to go into my second story first, and then if Rico does make it back, then that's fantastic. Then if not, I'll read his story. But and this is a follow-up story from a story that I previously covered here on High at 9 News, you guys. We're going to roll right back into the great state of Missouri, where a company at a center of a Missouri marijuana recall
faces a $20 million lawsuit, you guys. That's right. Delta Extraction, the Robertsville-based marijuana manufacturer at the center of Missouri's massive product recall last year, is being sued for nearly $20 million in unpaid invoices and loss of revenue by a former contractor. S&D Equipment Leasing is a Missouri company that created the THC concentrate oil that led to the regulators' decisions to pull more than 60,000 marijuana products off the shelves back in August and revoke Delta Extraction's manufacturing license in December. S&D claims Delta Extraction owes the company more than $13 million for producing about 1,100 liters of THC concentrate oil or distillate and other products, according to the company's lawsuit filed in Franklin County last month. A liter of 80% concentrated THC can make more than 70,000 individual gummies at 10 milligrams THC a piece, industry experts say. That's almost 80 million doses, you guys, or twice that amount if they're 5 milligrams of THC gummies. The company is also asking for $5 million in lost revenue after the state confiscated its extraction equipment that was inside Delta Extraction's facility for 5 months. And S&D's attorney Jay Promali told The Independent on Tuesday that Delta Extraction Delta Extraction contracted S&D to do a job, and it was Delta's responsibility as the licensee to make sure the work was in compliance with marijuana regulations. S&D had no authority to communicate directly with regulators, she said. Promoli linked the situation to a homeowner contracting a business to paint the house green, and then the homeowners association saying the color doesn't meet regulations. The contractor should still get paid for the work, she said, in a quote. It doesn't matter what the state says or if it was within compliance or not, Promoli said. They still contracted with S&D to produce a product. In March, Delta Extraction argued against the recall and its license revocation before the Administrative Hearing Commission, a decision the appeal is still pending. And hundreds of documents were filed in this case, including 8 hours of testimony by S&D owner Jason Sparks, who primarily works in Oklahoma's cannabis market. However, the lawsuit is the first glimpse at the estimated damages Sparks' company incurred over his business agreement with Delta Extraction. A spokesperson for Delta declined to comment as the company awaits a decision on its appeal by the Administrative Hearing Commission. And when Sparks first began working with Delta in early 2022, he was making the distillate only for the marijuana brand Conti, an Oklahoma-based company. Sparks' wife, Tiana Conti, owns Conti, and as an out-of-state company, Conti can only make its products at a Missouri licensed manufacturing facility that can legally obtain marijuana. But in the spring of 2023, the supply for marijuana distillate was low across the state, and Delta contracted with Sparks to make large amounts of distillate that Delta sold to about 100 other Missouri manufacturers. Those manufacturers went on to produce gummies and vapes for other brands, which is why the product recall was so widespread. Despite Delta calling it the Conti distillate, Conti wasn't involved in that business deal or receiving profits from it, the lawsuit states. And at issue is what's in the distillate. That's right, you guys. Sparks extracted a small amount of THC from Missouri-grown marijuana, which the state heavily regulates. Then he added a large amount of THC oil that was extracted from hemp, a product that is completely unregulated. It's much less expensive to make distillate from hemp than Missouri-grown marijuana, but Delta's consumers still paid marijuana prices. The state argues that any kind of THC must be regulated by the Division of Cannabis Regulation, so any products made from Delta's distillate were pulled off the shelves because they posed a health risk. Still today, 45,000 products are pending the Commission's decision on Delta's appeal, but Delta argues hemp is not a federally controlled substance and the state has no authority to regulate hemp-derived THC products. Even further, testimony and evidence revealed during the March appeal hearing showed for the first time that the state was aware of the process S&D and Delta were using before the recall was issued. The state said Sparks' testimony validated its concerns of health and safety because he couldn't recall where he brought the hemp-derived THC oil from and used to make his early distillate in 2022. However, the distillate that led to the recall was actually made made from a different hemp product than Delta and SND began using back in May of 2023, according to testimony and exhibits in the case. And certified lab results are available for those ingredients, Promoli said. And in a final quote, the distillate was tested by Missouri licensed laboratories as required at all steps in the distillate creation process, according to a statement from SND's attorneys. To date, there have been zero complaints or health or safety concerns with any of the related products referenced in this situation. Well, man, I think both sides have something going on in here and have some very, very valid arguments. I mean, first of all, Delta knew that they were skirting the lines by using this hemp-derived distillate and cutting it with THC to have larger distillate sales, and they did let the state know about that, and then the state later decided to say, hey, no, you can't do it, after they told them that they were doing it. So I think the state has some liability here, and I do believe the SND should be paid because they are correct that their contract had nothing to do with whether or not the products met any type of testing standards. They were just contracted to produce oil for them. So, but nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
You know, I don't mind distillate. Is that what they're calling? Basically, you know, hemp is natural plant, and the THC, even if it's at 0.3%, is extracted from that plant. And usually there are isomeric, meaning like left-handed, right-handed types of THC. That may be different in hemp. So I think that should be looked at. But other than that, it's just THC. So it's not a problem. My problem comes when they actually take CBD and put acid on it to try to change it to THC and end up getting all these byproducts that are a problem. So I don't know why they're making a big deal out of this. THC is THC.
And I do think that they have a valid argument saying that the distillate that SND produced is an unregulated product and therefore should be treated like any other ingredient that's going into and not worried about the fact that it has cannabinoids in it because the state has no jurisdiction over that. I think that's a very, very compelling argument.
Yeah, they wrote it. If they were trying to stop THC, they left the loophole. Yeah,
it's like basically like any type of candy manufacturer, with them saying, oh no, you only could use raw sugar, not pure cane sugar, something like that. You know what I mean, Dr. T?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, if the lab is conscientious, they'll make it pure. They'll make it pretty pure so that you're not getting other things.
Fair enough. Matthew, any thoughts? Elise?
It's just a bunch of non-science based bullshit. They're the same plant. It's just a great moment to remember that the actual name for government is the First Mafia. That's who they are. They're just an organized crime ring that was the first successful one. So they want their money. It's extortion.
Exactly. Yeah. Just money.
They want their money. Well, speaking of corrupt governments, I have a final read for you, Mathieu St. Germain. Are you ready for this?
Let's go.
You guys are gonna love this. That's right. We couldn't leave you for a Friday without having some kind of New York story, because New York touts its legal marijuana sales spike as new licenses are issued, you guys. New York's state's ongoing quest to quash the illicit market and rescue its failed adult use cannabis launch continued this week as regulators issued 109 more marijuana business licenses, you guys. Good job, New York. Newly licensed businesses combined with padlocked the doors on 164 illegal sellers as of July 9th. That's interesting that they're saying that as of July 9th, 164, because we covered a previous story that said that they closed over 400. But nonetheless, that is super, super interesting. They say as of July 9th have led to a recent 50% increase in sales in downstate areas like New York City, Governor Kathy Hochul said in a Wednesday news release.
I'm not buying any of those numbers, but whatever. 144 licensed marijuana retailers. As of Thursday, 144 licensed retail marijuana stores were open for business across the state of New York, according to New York's Office of Cannabis Management. The permits include cultivators, distributors, micro-business processors, retailers, Hochul said. I feel like she's just said only stuck to this to retailers, and because I feel like she's trying to inflate those numbers now, but nonetheless. Less than half are new permits. However, 58 of the 109 licenses issued Wednesday are unconditional cultivators and processors transitioning to different licenses, according to the governor. Of the new licenses, 23 are cultivators, 23 are micro businesses, 22 are processors, 21 are retailers, and 20 are distributors. And the adult use market is in recovery in New York because New York legalized adult use marijuana back in March of 2021, but the first sale was not recorded until December of 2022. Blame for the botched launch was pinned on a mixture of bureaucratic snuffs and an illicit market that grew while unchecked by authorities. It's estimated that several thousand illicit marijuana sellers might be in business in New York City alone, and a expanded crackdown, including the authority to padlock the doors of unlicensed merchants, began back in April. A steady march of lawsuits also hampered the state's ambitious goals to launch what officials promised would be the most equitable market in the United States. Hochul even branded the rollout of what was promised to be a multi-billion-dollar market a disaster earlier this year. Shortly thereafter, state officials released a scathing audit of the Office of Cannabis Management, and that prompted the resignation of the agency's inaugural executive director, Chris Alexander, you guys. Well, more gaslighting from New York, and just throw it on the flames of what is happening in New York City, because their market is burning to the ground. Only 21 new retailers in New York, and yet they want to try to flaunt it as 144 and how they word it. But nonetheless, this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think about this?
I think that they're squeezing the consumer. They need to open up the stores first and then shut down the other stores rather than shutting down the stores, squeezing the consumers.
Well, the problem with that too, though, Dr. T, is I think you kind of have to have a balance of it, because otherwise you're going to have all these stores open but with no customers, and then that's just going to cost all of those businesses money of being open on top of paying the rent there, and which makes the cost a lot higher if the customer flow isn't going to be there.
I think there's customers in New York. I don't know. New York's got a lot of people.
Customers, where'd they go?
So I guess, Dr. T, your thought is along with a lot of other people's thoughts, is that the trap customer is not the same customer that's going to go into the store. You don't have a lot of crossover. There's certain people that just want to go into a store. Go ahead.
They're the same customer, but if you open a store that has products that have been tested that are about the same size and quality as what's in the trap, people are going to go to that store first. You just compete, you know?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think it's just
a big quality drop off. Majority of customers in New York are used to decades of getting good quality cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you lure them in with something that's more expensive of a lesser quality to a public that knows the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can't make
it's
it
the
more
same
expensive.
problem as California. Basically, everywhere that had an extant gray market, cannabis market, and cannabis culture is suffering. Places that are doing well are like Michigan, Oklahoma, and these other markets where there was not that subculture due to levels of policing.
Well, Michigan's doing well because Ohio, Mathieu St. Germain.
Well, because that whole area, you would go to jail for like at least a month for a roach.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Michigan made it super accessible, and there's a lot of fire in Michigan because of that.
I don't know if there's a lot of fire because they made it accessible. I think there's just a lot of fire in general. And in all fairness, Michigan has always held a high regard for quality from a lot of the people that have been in the industry from the legacy days. So.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to the C Word with another big old super chat who says New York weed should pay me to smoke it. And I totally agree with you on that, C Word. 100%. The state should be offering out vouchers and paying me or giving me some type of tax credits if they want me to go and pick up any of that New York boof. I think that's 100% right about that. What do you think, Dr. T? If they paid you to smoke New York weed, would you try it?
No, but I would recommend for C-Word that get a checkup after smoking it, just to make sure you don't get sick from it. Fair
enough. I know. I feel you. I would get sick from the state's weed too. That 2-year-old hemp-grown weed, outdoor. It's got to be so harsh on. It's got to probably even like hurt your lips to hit.
Unless it's the one that's coming directly from California that's not making it into our stores here.
Fair enough. Mathieu St. Germain, any thoughts before we wrap this up?
Grow weed in your closet, grow weed in your backyard, trade it for other items of value, give it away to your friends. Don't wait for the government to tell you what's okay or not. Act morally for the earth and for nature. Of everybody. Smile to everybody. Somebody a great smile. Let's try to see how many stoked human beings we can create on the West Coast, wherever you guys are watching today.
Fair enough. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst, helping us keep the lights on. Cloud Media Partners, Adam in the building today. Thank you to all of our correspondents. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all for tuning in. We know you could be anywhere else, and we appreciate the fact that you're spending your time with us. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.